Hi, my friends. Welcome into this week's episode of Forte Catholic. I'm so glad that you found us here. We know that you have a lot of options of things to watch and listen to, and we are so happy that you chose us to be a part of your day today. Father Anthony and I have a great episode here for you today. We recap a little bit more about my trip to go see him last month. We talk about us watching wrestling together, and he's a huge wrestling fan, and this was my first time really ever watching it. So we talk about our experience of that. We talk a little bit about how he, as a priest, has no idea where to buy diapers, which is one of the funnier experiences of my life hanging out with him up in Pittsburgh. We also play a brand new Catholic Word Association game that we think really works, and we hope that you enjoy it. And then to close out this week's show, I make some of maybe my most audacious claims about me and Jesus. I hope that you enjoy today's show. If you do, please hit subscribe wherever you are listening, or if you're watching on YouTube. We really do appreciate it. Enjoy today's show, my friends. And welcome to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schroll, and that is my friend. He's a priest, but he's a big lefty, as he's a big fan of the culture of death, supporting the modernist Bergoglio agenda, losing the side of truth, and he kowtows to the social justice lefty agenda. Father Anthony Sciarappa, how are you today?
Oh, it's good. It sounds like someone's definitely listened to all my podcasts, so that's good.
You want to tell people why I introduced you like that?
Yeah, so I rarely check really any stats or anything on my podcast, Clerically Speaking. But I was just kind of curious the other day, and I looked over some of the reviews, and that was a 0-star review. The fun part about that, guy, is I think I made like a offhanded joke that I'm a big lefty, because I was going to say something about, I don't know, social justice or something, And I do have some left-leaning views, but like, come on. Anywho, so the fun part about that comment is the person who commented's name was Evie Brawny, Ava Braun, which is Hitler's girlfriend, actually.
Oh,
so,
I didn't know that. You mentioned that it was a funny name, and I was like, I don't get it.
yeah. So it's kind of like, that's one heck of a thing to call yourself as a Catholic. And then
I see why he hates lefties. I mean, that's about as far right as you can get.
That's yeah. So it's like, weird talking about the culture of death when your name is associated with the death of millions of Jews. But what? Who am I to say? Really? Maybe you think about this. Maybe he has some good critiques. Yeah.
Well, so seeing you go through that made me feel better. So thanks for that. And the reason that it makes me feel better is because I have gotten more hate comments on mostly our YouTube reels or our Instagram shorts, like little clips that we share or whatever, where I've seen the stats, the people who watch those videos, it's great in one sense. Those videos, 5% or less than 5% of the people viewing those videos are subscribers to our YouTube channel or followers of our Instagram. The algorithms are pushing it out to people that have never heard of Forte Catholic, never heard of me, never heard of you. And that's the whole point. It's working, right? But the negative side that comes with that is they have no idea who I am, who you are, what Forte Catholic is. So there have been I'm used to the the Eva Brauns of the world, the super atheists that just hate Catholicism. I'm used to that. But more recently it's been Protestants or other Catholics who just don't understand jokes. They don't understand that there is a joke, that you can make a joke about Catholicism, that you can make a joke about the Bible. That's just not allowed, right? So they come in and they start arguing little points, just this person is arguing I listened to your podcast. I've listened to every second of every episode you've ever done, and you did say jokingly, but it's one of those things that if you don't know the person, and if you're just reading it on a script, if they were reading a text of the transcript of what you said,
right.
You said it. You said I'm a big lefty.
I did.
But if you listen to the podcast, you're like, yeah, of course I'm a big lefty, and then you said your thing. It's pretty clear you were joking, right?
Yeah.
But people just don't get the joke. And honestly, dude, I'm getting so tired of it. I had a group of Protestants just completely attack me about something, and I'm like, at first I started I don't argue on the internet. It's not something I actually do. Now I'll play with people. I will.
Yes, I've seen you mess with people on the internet before. I have seen that. It's a good time.
I'm joking. You're taking this very seriously. I'm going to continue to joke. You're going to get seriously more angry. And then whenever I'm done, I block you. It's a great solution. But it is, if I'm being honest, it is starting to get to me a little bit. Because I don't understand how you don't get that this is a joke. Like, I make a joke about something and somebody's like, that's not what it says in catechism. I don't care. I was making a joke. I care about being theologically accurate when I'm giving a talk or I'm being serious. I don't care when I'm making a joke. It's so annoying.
It is annoying. For me, it's not too bad because I don't have much, and I don't have to have much contact with that side of my podcast. Nick and Riley, my producers, take care of that for me. So that's nice. But something about the shot and chaser of Hitler's girlfriend saying I was not Catholic enough for them that was fascinating. But yeah, it's man, most people are normal, but everyone who isn't is on the internet, and the internet makes you less normal. Man, it's a crazy thing. It gives you brain worms, and it's I mean, I've been in that headspace before. You know, when I had my big old Twitter account and stuff, that stuff would get to me. So I get it. Yeah, it's rough. Like, strangers like hating you for no reason it's unsettling. It's an unsettling feeling. You start,
The one that really got to me was like, because depending on the mood I'm in, I either delete and block immediately, or I play with them for a little while and then I block and delete, right? But the one that really got me, and like ultimately I can block and delete all these people, which is eventually what I did, but. There was this. I was arguing with this Protestant guy on this thing that I posted on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then he went and got his posse, and he was like, "Hey, let's go dunk on this person." And then like to try to make it look like I'm losing the argument, but I went and looked at their profiles. It's all the same last name. It was like his wife, his mom, and his sister. I'm like, bro, you gotta have better time. You gotta have better things to do. You just have to have better things to do.
First of all, crusades are a Catholic thing. You know, grabbing all of our cronies and waging a holy war. That's us. So come on now, buddy.
And now somebody's going to watch this clip and be like, that leftist priest is pro-crusades. So.
If you find any of that, you send that my way.
I will. Speaking of Protestants and so the last episode that we recorded was episode 350. We were there live recording together from the rectory. That's where you are now, but I am now, 1,500 miles away or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But there were some things that, one, we just didn't get to while we were recording live, or two, I was there for another day and a half after we recorded, other stuff happened. Mm-hmm. So a lot of today's show is going to be looking back on our time together. We recorded our last episode in the midst of our time together. But one of the things that my idea, and maybe this was around the same time the Protestants were yelling at me. Sure. So I think I came up with a modern day crusade that I would like for you to go on. Because when I was visiting you, your church, we talked about it ad nauseum. You like how I use Latin? That makes me feel better about myself.
Hey, look at you.
Ad nauseum, ad orientem, we're all getting sick, but your church looks like a castle, but I think it looks like a castle because it had to fit in. The Presbyterian church next door, the Methodist church down the road, every Protestant church on this road looks beautiful. They're just beautiful, beautiful churches. So I was in the midst of being frustrated by Protestants constantly yelling at me and telling me I'm going to hell. That I thought what you should do. It's a modern day and meaning that not only is it right now, but it's also a little bit later. Crusades, we might have learned our lesson. Maybe killing everybody isn't the right option, right?
Yeah, everyone makes mistakes.
Right, everybody makes mistakes, right? But I found the Martin Luther King Jr. version of the Crusades. It's non-violent, but I think it would be so much fun.
Okay,
I need you on a Sunday morning because you literally live, 100 steps away from this. It's Presbyterian, right? It's a Presbyterian church next door.
The one right next to us is Presbyterian, I believe.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful church. What I think you should do is go dressed completely as a priest. Maybe not wearing what you wear at mass, but wear your Roman collar and they probably know who you are. It's next door, right? What I want you to do is I want you to go dressed as a Catholic priest, as you are, go sit in their congregation on Sunday morning. You don't have every Sunday mass. Like, you don't have to cover it, right?
That's true.
But I want you to just go there with a big notepad and take notes the whole time. And like, when people start coming to you, like, you cover up the notes, so you like don't let them look over your shoulder. Like, I want you to look like you're there, like as an infiltrator, and just don't answer any questions. It's a modern day crusade, and it would make me feel better about all the Protestants yelling at me. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Paranoid.
Yes.
I go in there with my cassock on, like looking super Roman, and then just
right.
I leather bound notebook too, like a real fancy large one. I bring out like a quill and like a ink pen, so I look really medieval with this stuff, and I'm scribbling down furiously whenever the pastor says anything, and looking around, taking notes on the people next to me and everything. Right. Meanwhile, just like drawings of like trees and like smiley faces and stuff. But that's an idea. I will consider that. If I were to do it, it'd be for you, which means I'm probably not going to do it. But if I were to do it, it'd be for you.
I know you don't say, like, I went to your mass. We talked about it a lot last time. It's very reverent, Novus Ordo, but a lot of like older traditions. Like, we did Ad Orientem, and there was a little bit of Latin. Like, you know enough Latin. Like, you at least know, like, like the mass parts. Like, do you know the Our Father in Latin? Like, could you write it out?
Pater Noster, Quaes, and Chalice. I could fake it. Yeah.
That's what you need to be writing. You need to be writing all of your notes in Latin. Like, they won't know that it's the Our Father, but they'll be like, "Why is this priest taking notes on us in Latin?" And I'm like, yes, the sermon went too long. And meanwhile, it just says, rest in peace or whatever in Latin.
Yeah. It's just a Gloria written out in Latin, and
just says it's just this
Ave Maria, Gracia Plena, and just like do all that.
It'd be very funny. I think it's a great skit. But I want to be there and put like a hidden camera in there. I just think it'd be incredible. I think it'd be so much fun.
It would make great TV.
Yeah. One of the other things that we did, and this is I think going to be the bulk of our initial conversation here, is we did something together. At least we started together. We did something mostly together that is a big love of yours, and something that I have poked fun about you. I don't know how to say that. I've made fun of you for a very long time, and that is you as a grown man, your love for professional wrestling, like the WWE and WWF and this sort of thing, right? The last time I was in town, you made me watch like some documentary. Like, a documentary is going to make me a fan of something. Like, if you want me to be a fan of anything, don't start with a documentary.
Lesson learned. I thought, like, hey, maybe this will like appeal to Taylor's more intellectual side, and they'll I don't know.
No, not at all. You're trying to appeal to my dumber side, which would be liking professional wrestling.
That's true.
We were at your brother's baby shower, also known as a pregger kegger for the men. We were having a very good time. I got to meet a lot of your family. I got to meet a lot of his friends. It was a very fun time. But about halfway into this party, you were like, you prepped me. You were like, halfway through this party, I'm going to leave. Not leave, but like, I'm going to go inside, and I'm not going to be part of the party anymore. I'm going to be watching professional wrestling, because there was some big event. What was the big event?
SummerSlam. It's one of the big 4 pay-per-views. It's a big one.
So you were so excited to watch this, and like, it came on like the first couple of fights or whatever matches. I wasn't really into it, but like, then they started getting to like names I've heard of. Like, I've heard of Roman Reigns. I've heard of, whatever. So I was like, okay, I'll go in and watch this. So we're going to talk about our experience of watching this together and then not together. But just going into this, what did you expect to happen with me at this party with wrestling? Like, did you think that I would watch? Did you think I'd ignore the whole thing? What did you assume was going to happen with me being there with your baby known as professional wrestling?
Yes. So the Pregger Kegger is next big celebration. You bring some diapers and we hang out. We had, meatball sandwiches and stuff. It was a great time. And it just happened to fall on the night of SummerSlam. So Nick was just going to have it on the TVs in the house. So if you're in the house, you can watch it. A lot of people stayed outside smoking cigars and that sort of thing. And I was like, there are some matches I definitely have to watch that I'm excited for. I'm going to see. And that's all I thought about it. I think I was very blunt. It's like, I'm going to watch wrestling. I do not care what anyone else does. And I would pop outside a few times when it was something that I was not interested in as much. So I did not expect
like the women's fights.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, no, not. Sometimes they're great. Sometimes they're great, but this pay-per-view that weren't worth anything, except for the one that I want to see. Anywho, so I figured maybe you would like poke your head in and make fun of me, and that would be the extent of it, if at all. But near the end of the night, as we get to like the main event and everything, more and more people started filtering in, and we had like a whole crew of people. And most of them were not wrestling fans, but we were all just watching it.
I don't know if that's a fair assessment.
Okay,
My assessment of the room was that it was pretty evenly half and half.
Okay.
Like it was legitimately like the left side and the right side of the room. Like it felt like a left versus right battle, you know? Ironically enough, you were on the right side this time. Not a big lefty, big righty.
Yes, yeah, it was.
But it became fun for me, and I'll explain why later. I'm not sure if I enjoyed wrestling, but I enjoyed that night thoroughly.
It was a great night, yeah, you know. And I was doing a little bit of Sherpa work. I was explaining some things as we go along, you know, for people who cared. At the very end of the night, I remember for the main events, I left that main room and went to the basement so I could watch the last match in silence. So that was like my thing. But for a significant amount of time, like 3 or 4 matches or whatever, we were watching the graps, the wrestling. Yeah.
So I think there's 2 questions, but it's really one question. The first question that you don't need to really answer, because I think you'll answer it with the second, is how was watching wrestling with me? That's the question you don't have to answer. Because the next question is, you definitely chose to leave the room that I was in while watching wrestling. So what went into that decision?
Yeah. So if we were watching like a pay-per-view that wasn't that big a deal, I would stay in that room. No big deal, you know, and all the joshing, so it's fine. But this was like one of the big storylines I was really invested in. So I didn't mind, but like I knew like this is the thing I really want to watch. And so now I'm leaving because I really want to watch this thing. I was actually, you know, happy just to, even if you don't like it, even if it's not your thing, it's like, oh, Taylor's sharing a thing that I like. Isn't that nice? Like you went to my parish, you saw me do priestly things. Now you're involved in some of the dumber things that I like and do. I like being a priest. I like watching wrestling. So like that was nice, even if you're joshing. I know it's all good fun. I didn't care.
The whole gamut. We ran the whole gamut that day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I wasn't offended at all, but like, you know, it's kind of like maybe if like I didn't care about football and like for the last quarter of the game, you're like, I need to go just watch this because I have a lot of money bet on this or whatever. I'm really or whatever it is, you know, it would be kind of like something like that.
Yeah. That's very fair. That's a very fair comparison. I will say this. How I acted that evening. I think I started generally inquisitive, and I was like, look, this is important to him, and we finally had this opportunity where we get to watch this big thing together. So I started in a good place, I think.
Absolutely.
And I was inquisitive, and I was asking questions, but 2 things happened. One, I started not liking some of the answers. Like, some of the answers started being, like, the reasons why I don't like wrestling. I'm like,
yeah.
Why did that happen? It's like, one of the things that drove me the most crazy was like, okay, like we all realize that it's like scripted, but yet like they're still really hitting each other. Like the whole like real versus fake debate is a debate we've had before, but then like I had never watched it really before. So I'm like, is that fake? Is that real? And like, I could get that can be a little annoying. Right. But then some of the stuff started really frustrating me. Like they, you know, like in like, I don't know, real wrestling or like any other fight, like there's like a 10 count or a 3 count. Right. So in this wrestling, it's a 3 count. And every single time somebody got somebody like wrapped up, they would wait till 2.5 seconds and then get out of it. I'm like, if you want to make it look realistic, have them get out at 1 second. Just once. Like, I was getting so actually angry. And you're like, I asked you, I was like, why do they wait till 2.5 seconds every time? They're like, oh, to make it more suspenseful. I'm like, it's not suspenseful because every single night you're like, and then I was like, I'm a non-wrestling fan, and they were getting so close. 2.5 seconds is so close to 3 seconds, and I'm like, I don't know if they tapped or not because everybody's yelling and cheering. Are they cheering because the person got out or because he just won? I don't know who just won. I don't understand. Yes, I was getting so angry.
Yeah. So a lot of times at like the beginning of the match, when I do a pinfall, it'll be like 1 second or whatever. But for those big dramatic matches, they like overdo everything. So everything is this like close shave. The idea is like setting up a story where it's like anyone could win at any moment. They're like took a big move, kicking out 2.5. Oh, they barely survived. Oh, drama. Yeah. And if you're not used to that rhythm, then it can be very confusing. Also, like if you're a wrestling fan, you have a general idea of what's going to finish a match and what's not. So each wrestler has like their special move, their finisher move. And when they do that, there's a really good chance the match is going to end. So when they kick out of a big finishing move that normally they never kick out of, it's a dramatic deal. And that sort of thing happens on pay-per-views more often than on a TV show, right? Most of the times on the TV show, it's the big move, match is over. But in the big pay-per-views, they summon that extra strength, that extra willpower, and they kick out at 2.5. It's so dramatic, and everyone starts yelling. That's the idea.
Yeah, it's just that's an example. But there were just multiple things where, like, at the beginning, I was generally inquisitive and was like, I'm going to accept these answers. But then at the same time, I was like, I don't like some of these answers. But at the other half, I was like, okay, I like this. And like, if I'm being honest, I got genuinely invested in some of the fights, right? Mm-hmm. Where I was like, essentially whoever I picked to root for, I don't know any of these people, but like, I would ask you or some other wrestling fan the kind of backstory just so I could kind of get into it. And I'd be like, okay, who am I rooting for? Every single person that I rooted for until the last match, until you left the room, whoever I was rooting for was a surefire way to know that they were going to lose. Every single person that I rooted for lost. I was getting so mad, which means that I was invested, and that took a little bit of introspection. Like, oh, do I actually care about this? So it was an interesting evening for me. I mentioned that there were two things that I think happened that evening. One, I started not liking the answers. Two, as you mentioned, as the crowd got bigger and it became more of a divisive evening, there was like the wrestling side and the non-wrestling side. And all of the non-wrestling side was doing some like real questioning and then just making fun of the other side. Like we're just genuinely making fun of everybody else on the other side. And what I don't know if happened, but when you left, there was still another Sciarappa in the room, your brother Nick, who's hosting the party. And with you gone as the main person answering the idiot in the other side of the room's questions, he became public enemy number one, meaning I think we became public enemy number one. So the not side was me, a couple of randos, and like all of the other priests in the room. Like you're the only priest on the pro wrestling side. Exactly. All the other priests with me. So I riled myself and all of your brother's priest friends against him at his party. Yeah. And I think he got genuinely mad for a little while.
Oh, yeah, he was. He told me about it.
So I was
he wanted to be a good host to not leave, but he was ticked off.
I was like, this is really weird. I was like, first of all, you invited me to a wrestling party when you know that I didn't like it. You knew that the rest of the people in the room didn't like it. So I was like, on some level, what do you expect? But the second level, it was kind of like I have my limits, but when the room starts getting carried away and I have 3 other priests egging me on, like I'm probably going to do it, So it was a very funny thing where like I ended up liking it, but like it got so funny, dude. Like that last match, I think the last match you were watching downstairs and it was very quiet with 2 other people. I was upstairs and we are howling laughing because like one of the guys like pulled out 48 chairs. Well, the big guy, Roman Reigns, is laying on the ground, ready to be completely knocked out. This other guy could take over, and he lays out 48 chairs instead of just taking one. And why do you need 48 chairs? And then you want to know how he lost? 10 minutes later, he got thrown onto the 48 chairs. I'm like, it's just so
hubris.
Dumb. Like
the hubris of bringing out all those chairs. The karmic justice of it all. Oh, it's a Greek tragedy is what that is.
Ridiculous. I'm like when it just doesn't make sense. Like, so that's the reason that like I can say I am still not a wrestling fan, but I thoroughly enjoyed that evening. It was a fun thing to be a part of for me. Like, not only at first I was the only outsider, and then I became one of many outsiders, and there was some like, I would like to know what this is, and I want to care about what you care about, and then just but ultimately I can't because it's stupid. So it was a fun evening for me.
It was great. It was great. And Nick's used to that. He invites people to watch wrestling all the time, and he gets good crowds and bad crowds. It's funny because a lot of times we're like, okay, for WrestleMania, Nick, it's just gonna be you and me because we're not inviting anyone. So he's used to all that stuff. It's no big deal. He got over it real quick. But yeah,
he didn't text me for like 2 weeks after that. I don't think he got over it real quick. I think he got over it, but I don't think he got over it real quick. I was like, I can take back the diapers I bought for you if you'd like. Speaking of the diapers, we'll end with this story. So on the way to the diaper thing, I want you to tell the story of how you and I ended up going to buy diapers. It was do you remember this?
Yes, okay. I do remember this.
So we were at the rectory and we had done stuff in the morning. Like you had mass and stuff in the morning. I slept, it was great. And then we had to go to Nick's party and go ahead and share what happened. Where did you think diapers came from?
So I have purchased diapers before. I've purchased diapers in seminary. We did a diaper drive, for a women's shelter, and all those diapers I just bought on Amazon because you can buy anything on Amazon. Diapers obviously come from Amazon, but I don't have same day shipping for Amazon around here. So okay, where do you get diapers? You get them at one of two places and two places only, probably Walmart or Target. And I spent like 10 minutes on my phone trying to find the closest Walmart or Target on the way. And they were all out of the way. They're like, nobody was on the way.
And like 30 minutes out of the way.
Yeah. Like this, it would not work, And after like 10 minutes of this, you're like, you just said you can buy diapers anywhere. I was like, what? It's ridiculous. It's like, and you said, let's just drive straight to Nick's house and we will pass a place that sells diapers. I guarantee it. And I was like, okay. I mean, you're the diaper guy. Fine. We'll do that. Okay. And sure enough, 2 minutes down the road, there's a CVS and you're like, there's going to be diapers in that CVS. And I was like, okay, if you say so, diaper man.
You were like, no, I was just at the CVS yesterday.
Apparently I have diaper blindness. I just never see them because that's a CVS I get my drugs and stuff from. So I go there all the time because I get a lot of drugs. And
there is a dark back alley behind that CVS.
Yeah. It's a sketchier part of town, but it's close. Anywho, and sure enough, there's whole piles of diapers just everywhere in the CVS that I just had no idea about before that.
It was so funny.
I learned something.
It was funny.
Definitely, one of my most celibate moments. During that trip.
And it was just so funny. You just didn't trust me at all. It was, I could just see it on your face. I was like, Anthony, let's get in your car. And I promise you within 2 minutes, we'll find somewhere. And sure enough, a block and a half away from your church, I'm right there. Literally, we didn't speak for this minute and a half driving down the road because we were you're like, you don't trust me. I'm kind of frustrated that you don't trust. I'm like, it's right there. It's right there. We could have walked in the same amount of time that we drove. It was so funny. I was like, this is the most priest and layperson dad thing I've ever seen in my life.
It really was. Funny. It was magical. There's no diapers at CVS. What are you talking about? There's so many diapers at CVS.
All right. So ultimately, we talked last time about the church experience, but the wrestling experience. Do you think there's a lesson learned about maybe there's something about an outsider coming into something that you love? Maybe there's something about crowds and people that are jerks becoming super jerks. What do you think ultimately was learned from our experience of wrestling together?
I think when someone is passionate about something, whether it be a hobby or something important, you can learn enough about it to appreciate why they appreciate it. But you still might not like it at the end of the day. It's okay, I get this in the sense I get why you're into it. I have a better understanding of that, but I still don't like it. And that's fine. I think that's fine. I think that's the lesson.
Yeah. No, that's good because I think it's good for parents where it's your kids are into stuff that you're not into, at least giving it a chance and figuring out what it is, right? I like video games, but being into Fortnite or being into a show my kids, every now and then, I'm not going to sit here and watch Bluey all day. I know some adults watch it. You're clinically insane. If you're an adult watching Bluey all day, you're insane. But my kids would watch a show and I'd be like, what is this? It's the stupidest. They're watching this goat show currently where the goat's just bad the whole time and very clearly stupidly I hate it so much. It is so annoying. But you have to watch one or two episodes just to spend time with them and be they enjoy having me enjoy something that they enjoy, right? Because they do the same with me. They'll sit here and watch me watch a show or watch me play a video game they don't care about, but they care about me and they want to be with me, and they ask questions about like, Daddy, why is that person dying? I'm like, I don't know, I killed them. It's just, they're at least engaged in the process. So
is that when you're watching a show or going for a walk? Did that scenario happen?
It doesn't matter either way. I will tell you the most awkward part of the evening, and I'll tell you how I dealt with this as a layperson. You can tell me how you deal with this as a priest who is a fan of wrestling.
Yeah, there
was a 3-woman fight, and by the end, it's professional wrestling. So it's a 3-woman fight they have very little clothes on, and it's just 3 ladies just, wrestling and grappling with each other. And it got real awkward there in that room full of dudes where many were priests. And I'm sitting next to this priest who's never watched wrestling. And I just like kept looking at him like, what, how do we do this? And I'll tell you how I got out of it, how I think I got out of it. As I'm watching these 3 scantily clad women touch each other on TV. So what I do is I find the one whose outfit I like the most, and I take a picture, and I zoom in, and I take a picture, and I'd be like, hey, this would be a nice outfit for you, and I text that to my wife. That's how I feel like I made it okay. This would be fun, How do you get around, because you can't do that, how do you get around the idea that you were in a room full of 15 other dudes watching scantily clad women as a Catholic priest? It's very silly.
Yeah. It's when you're among wrestling fans, it's no big deal because like they're fighting and it's part of the thing and it's whatever, when I just a lot of my life is awkward, usually not in that kind of way, but I have grown used to being in awkward situations as a part of like my life, and so I just like use those skills. I'm like, you know what, this is happening, and
is that what you're currently doing right now?
Yes, yeah. I'm like right now on this podcast, it's happening, and eventually it'll end, and I'll go on to the next thing, and it's that's fine. Yeah, but it doesn't bother me as much anymore. It's just like, okay, yeah, I'm interested in seeing who wins the match and how well they do the things they do and everything. It's just, yeah.
I was so mad at the end of that match. The girl that I liked was winning. And then she got spit in the face. The other girl spit juice in her face. It was the grossest thing I've ever seen in my life. I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. She just spit in her mouth. I can't do it. This is so nasty. So anyway, ultimately, it was a very strange experience for me. It was a very, I felt very much like an outsider. I felt like I learned this word. I felt like the heel of the evening.
Yes.
for most of the experience. And, that made me feel good because I don't know if I can be a hero, but I can damn sure be a heel in life. And I think people appreciate that about me.
Sometimes the heels are more popular.
They really are. That's a whole nother conversation. That's a different website. So we're going to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to try out a new game. And hopefully everybody that hears this game will be equally split and can argue about it in a room whenever they hear it. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I hope you're enjoying today's show. As many of you know, that this isn't the only show that we produce here at Forte Catholic. The bulk of our ministry, the bulk of our work is supporting other Catholic podcasts and YouTube channels and ministries with production work, with support and editing and all that kind of stuff. We work with over 20 other great Catholic podcasts that you might have heard of, like Catechism in a Year and Pints with Jack and Restore the Glory and a bunch of other great podcasts. And in order to do that work, we need some pretty good computers in order to be able to work with all these video files and audio files and that sort of thing. And we are currently in need of a new MacBook for our editing, and that costs about $2,000 to $3,000. So we are currently in a fundraising campaign to help raise money to buy this computer that we need to do our work day in and day out. As many of you know, Forte Catholic is a Catholic nonprofit 501c3. We are good with the Catholic Church, and we are good with the government and good for your taxes. So if you'd like to support the work that we do here with the one-time gift that will go towards getting this MacBook that we need in order to do our daily work, and also if you just like what we're doing and want to support us monthly, you can do that all at fortecatholic.com/donate. That's fortecatholic.com/donate. donate. All one-time gifts until we are able to buy this computer will go towards that computer, and all monthly gifts will help us just to maintain the work that we are doing here. We thank you so much for you guys, especially those of you who are already donating and supporting. We have about 40 to 50 donors giving monthly and a bunch more giving one-time gifts to help us out for stuff like this. We really do appreciate it. Again, that's fortecatholic.com/donate. It's easy to give, and it's a tax write-off, and maybe, just maybe, it'll buy you a few minutes out of your time in purgatory. Enjoy the rest of the show. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Stroll, and that is a very big righty priest. we're gonna just balance it out. So we're gonna try something new, and anytime we try something new, I like games, I like sports, I like little random games. And one of the games that I've been seeing a lot on the old interwebs is the first word that comes to mind game. It's like rapid fire, first word that comes to mind. So when I say orange, you think
orange.
Good. I mean, that's not how the game should be played, but it is kind of funny. You're like, you meant the color, I meant the fruit.
Yeah, orange. That's a tough one. Yeah.
So
this is gonna go well, I can tell.
So whenever you said orange, I thought Eminem, because somebody said nothing ever rhymes with orange, and then Eminem did a rap where he rhymed 16 things with the word orange. It's incredible. Yeah. So our brains work differently. You're like, the word you just said. And I'm like, an Eminem memory deep from my brain from 20 years ago, So this will be fun. So what we're going to do, we're going to try this two different ways. So I'm just going to explain one now. What we're going to do is we're going to start off with Catholic words, words associated with Catholicism. Yeah. And the first word that comes to the other person's mind, that's what they'll say. And then if it warrants conversation, we'll talk about it. Pretty easy setup for the game, but I think it'll also kind of serve as a random topics generator. We might talk about each one for a little bit and see where it goes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. I like it.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a word, and if you say the word, I'm going to fly back up to Pittsburgh and punch you in the throat.
Fair enough. Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a Catholic word, and you just have to immediately, no thinking aloud. No thinking aloud, which most people assume that I tell you before every episode, but that's a whole other thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give you a Catholic word. You have to tell me the first word that comes to mind. Whether your word is Catholic or not, just the first word that pops into your head. Okay, doesn't have to be a Catholic word, just the first word that comes to mind. Got it. No, mm-hmm. Okay. So your Catholic word is altar rail.
Communion.
Okay.
Baptism.
Baptist church.
They get all the baptisms.
Yeah, exactly. James the Lesser.
Oh, sad. I think about sad. He's the lesser forever. Isn't that sad? I just think it's like a Charlie Brown sad person.
So what's weird about James the Lesser is do you know anything at all about James the Greater? Anything at all?
I don't know. I mean, the only time I will know something about them is the 5 minutes I prep a daily mass homily and I look them up real quick, and then I'll forget it immediately after mass. So,
right.
Sorry, James's.
So, the only thing I know about James the Greater isn't really something about James the Greater. It's that the greater James, there were two Jameses in the apostles, right? Yeah. The greater James was the one that was Peter, James, and John in a sailboat. Peter, James, and John in a sailboat. Anytime there was the three, it's Peter, James, and John, and then the other James, right? But I couldn't tell you one thing that James did other than being one of the three. So he was there at the.
You just kind of around, yeah.
Yeah. He was there at the Transfiguration, but he, to my knowledge, he didn't talk. Even if he spoke in the gospel, who do I think about speaking at that in that story? Peter. That's who. So I don't. Even the greater one, I don't know anything about.
Let alone the lesser one.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, your turn.
Church.
Bad.
Is this a psychological exam? Is this
I think so. It's a Rorschach test. Why did that pop up? Which it's interesting because church is actually doing a lot better here recently. But maybe I'm not fully healed. I think the reason I thought about it is because this last episode of Clerically Speaking, your podcast that gets great and stunning reviews all the time.
Yes.
The last episode that y'all did is probably my favorite ever, which is ironic because I almost turned it off after 4 minutes because you have to have good audio quality for Taylor to listen to your podcast.
Yeah, I was sad. Mm-hmm.
It was rough.
It was.
I know who it was, but one of your mics wasn't working correctly, and it made it very hard to listen to. But something in my brain told me, hey, you should probably listen to this. And y'all ended up talking about church hurt, or like, mostly from a priest, like church hurt from a priest, right? And it was a really good conversation because like a lot of my church hurt comes from priests, and a lot of the healing has come through priests, like you and our new pastor and our associate pastor who was on the show a couple of times. Yeah. And it was just a really good conversation. I appreciated it, and like it got you fiery. It was like an old school Father Anthony, Father Harrison thing where it's like anytime that there's conflict, it's good. Like our last episode that I did was with Catherine Whitaker, and I talked crap about probably the most famous Texas A&M Aggie person ever with an Aggie, and like there was conflict in that episode. But the crazy thing is like anytime Catherine's on an episode, like Catherine's people are like they will watch anything that Catherine does. Like they love Catherine, and by proxy, they're starting to begin to love me. And like they're just the nicest people, the nicest, right? And so like they've been leaving comments and leaving sending DMs or whatever. They're like, hey, we really enjoyed this, which is surprising. I was surprised because I kept getting DMs and I would see the name of the person and they're like, oh, Big Aggie, and I'm like, do I want to read this? Do I want to read this? Like the day or two after I just trashed Johnny Manziel. And then, like, I even got text messages from people who I know are huge Aggie fans. And, like, I opened the text, and all of them, every single one of them was like, hey, I really enjoyed that episode. And I thought it was really good because, like, we started on two very different positions, kind of came a little bit closer together, but did not end up agreeing, right? Kind of like with me, you, and wrestling. When we watched wrestling together, we came closer to some understanding or appreciation of the other person, but we didn't leave the night like either you hate wrestling or I love it now. It's just kind of like so there's something good about a little bit of conflict. And boy, you were fiery. I was like, I like this, Father Anthony. Y'all were fighting a little bit, but then Father Harrison ended up coming around, and it was just a really good episode. I really enjoyed it. So maybe that's why it's on his mind, because I'm staring at you. Church bad. Oh no.
no. Yeah, makes sense.
All right, let's do first word that comes to mind. I'm gonna give you one. Transubstantiation.
Overly complicated.
Oh, interesting. Very, very interesting.
I'd say it's because as a word, like it used to be like, when you first learn about transubstantiation, you think it's the coolest thing ever. Because indeed, it's very cool. God, bread becoming God, that's amazing. And now you know this fancy theological word and you feel very fancy about it. And then as you kind of grow older, you're like, it's a helpful word, but like the church fathers the early ones never used transubstantiation. They said it's bread and now it's Jesus. And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, why?
I agree with the teaching of transubstantiation,
Absolutely.
But I disagree highly with the word.
Right. What's that one like early Matt Maher song where the first word in the song is transubstantiation? Like that's not a good way to start a song. It's not a good word.
Wait, that's a real thing?
Yes, it's one of his very early albums.
No way.
Absolutely, I'll find it.
Oh man, no. Well, this says something because I was especially back in the day big Matt Maher fan, and I've never heard the song. So you're right, not a good way to start a song.
It's just not a good word. I mean, it's a great concept. It makes a lot of sense. It helps explain things, but it's overly complicated.
Which is funny because years later he wrote a song called "Remembrance" that I actually sing a lot whenever I sing for masses, and you're right, it still appreciates the mystery, but it's a much more simple explanation. See his body as blood, know that he will overcome every trial we will face. It's just like, this is his body and his blood, enjoy.
Like when I want to find out if second graders are ready for communion. Okay, what is the bread when it's on the altar before the priest says prayers? And they'll say it's bread. What happens after the priest says the prayers?
Tasteless.
Exactly. What happens afterwards? It's Jesus. If you get that much, you don't need the word transubstantiation. But okay. Candles.
Wick. John Wick.
Cool.
All right, we're going to try this a different way now. Now, we're going to give each other completely random words that are not Catholic, and you have to tell me the first Catholic thing that pops into your head.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Dog.
Annihilation.
Ooh, why?
Because it's the Thomas Aquinas argument that animal souls do not go to heaven; they're just annihilated; they just poof out of existence.
That's what I thought you meant. I was hoping you were.
I'm not saying I have retired from this argument. I no longer care. If you want to believe your dog's in heaven, I don't care. That's fine. Whatever. So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that that's the first thing that came to my mind.
The best answer I've ever heard of that, because I tend to agree with you. They don't have rational souls, so why would they go to heaven? But the best answer, the most pastoral yet correct answer is that I've ever heard was, if you need for Fluffy to be in heaven, Fluffy will be in heaven.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it comforts the person. It's like, oh yeah, so if I need them there, I think I need them there. But the real answer is like, you won't need them. Like, they're not going to be there.
I don't care for that answer, because it's like a trick, because like it's playing on people's misunderstanding that all you need is God and everything else, but it does work in a pinch. But I think the better argument is when St. Paul talks about how all creation is groaning for redemption, and in the scripture there's going to be a new heavens and a new earth. What exactly does that mean? It feels like it's open to the redemption of all creatures who have suffered under sin. So that I think that's a way into a little more theological.
Boring.
Fine. Annihilation. Your dog's not even going to hell. It's poofing out of existence forever. And you know what? You won't care. How about that?
You're going to have to do it.
Yep. You're going to have to do
Old
it.
Yeller style.
There's some negative comments. I don't care.
Yeah,
Fluffy might be in heaven. Why not? I don't care. Okay.
Some other fun arguments. Fluffy won't be there, but Pikachu will, because like, why go to heaven if I can't be a Pokemon master and live out that childhood dream? Right. Secondarily, why would I need dog when there's a lion with a giraffe's neck? Like, there's way more cool creatures up there. There's
definitely cooler stuff in heaven. That angel has so many wings and eyeballs. This is amazing.
Go away, Fluffy. This is my new pet.
This is my
Archangel Michael.
Yes. And he doesn't poop. And he doesn't poop on the carpet either.
Right,
there.
Exactly. He goes in a toilet like a big boy. Speaking of archangels, next time I say the St. Michael prayer, I'm like, defend me in battle. He's gonna be like, no.
Defend me in battle. No.
So like 2 episodes ago, it's a thing that I give people fake middle names, right? Yes. I am so deep into this fake middle name thing that Chris Bartlett mentioned Raphael in an episode 2 weeks ago, and I was like, something in my brain is telling me that that's Father Anthony's middle name, but I have made up so many fake ones that I'm like 60% that it's your real middle name, but there's 40% like, I don't know, man, we might have just been talking about that sometime.
No, it's definitely Scaramucci. That's definitely it is Raphael. Yeah,
okay, Raphael's the middle name. I do feel better. I was like, I think that's real, but I'm not really sure.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay.
Okay, next you need to give me a random word, and I'm going to connect it to the first thing Catholic I can think of.
Coffee.
Coffee, beans, ground. I don't want to say it.
I don't think I want you to say it either.
I don't think I'm going to. I have to break the rules again. I can't get the one thing that's in my head out of my head, though. Coffee, waking up. Someone fell asleep. The guy, who was it? Was it Samuel? The calling of Samuel while he's sleeping, and he's like, "God, come be my follower." And he's like, I think it's the old man next door. Let me go see if he's calling me. And then that was the first time who was the old man? Eli?
No, was it Eli? He was. I don't know. It was a priest of the old temple, not temple in Jerusalem, and his sons were really bad. And God was going to have them die, and Samuel was going to take over. What is his name? Can't remember.
I think it's Eli. Raphael. We're going to go with Raphael.
Raphael Scaramucci,
but
Joseph.
Good last name. Good job.
Yep.
We're good at thinking of words. it's one of my favorite stories because it's that game that I really hate. A game that I hate worse than wrestling is I didn't call you. Did you ever play that? Was that a thing up north where like somebody from across the school would be like, "Hey Anthony," and then you'd look and they'd be like, "I didn't call you."
No, that's
dude, it was the worst game. It was like a way to
dumb.
bully people that isn't bullying, but the bullies thought it was.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, you clearly called me. Like,
yeah,
because you're the person that said, I'm not calling you. And then you and all your fat friends are all laughing now. I never understood it. But that's the first game of I didn't call you. Yes, I didn't call you. Go back to sleep.
Amazing.
So I'm going to say that was the first thing that popped into my head, even though it was clearly second.
Okay, you tell me after the show.
I will, maybe. Okay. All right. Completely random word. Amazon.
Amazon. Hangers because
yeah, very biblical.
No, it is hangers specifically for vestments. We get because like the vestments need these long, big hangers, and you actually can buy them. They're like for quote unquote dresses, but they work perfectly for our vestments, and we bought like a whole bunch of them, and I love them. So that's my connection.
You're such
Does that work? Is that?
I mean, it works. It's revealing more about you than I thought. But both of us have said things that have revealed stuff about ourselves. Mine was deep, and yours is just you're such a nerd.
Oh no, absolutely. This is something I have to deal with every day. Like regular hangers don't work, and your vestments fall off them, and they're super annoying. We still have a bunch of them in there. Then you have these really big hangers that you can't pull through the neck. You have to like push off this. I hate those too. And when it's 7 a.m. in the morning, I'm like cranky about everything. And if I have a nice hanger, you know what? That's a treat. That's a win for that day. So there you go.
You take more clothes off and on of a hanger in a week than I do in a year.
Yeah, probably. Mm-hmm.
All I wear is t-shirts.
Yeah.
So like I'll go to a wedding and be like, oh, I have to go into my closet. I haven't seen my closet in 6 months. You know, I just go to my drawers where all the shorts and t-shirts go.
Yeah, I got all my dress pants, my shirts, my vestments. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, did you see that it kind of went viral on the internet this week? Did you see the picture of Justin Bieber and his wife? And it was like the picture of the week or whatever. And
I didn't know
a
he was
picture.
married.
Oh, yes, he's been married for a while. But he's dressed like he looks like a slob.
Yeah.
And she's dressed. I mean, she's a gorgeous woman. She's wearing this gorgeous dress and heels. Like she's dressed like she's going to the Met Gala. He's dressed like he's like going out to the backyard to mow, you know, so everybody's like making fun of them because, or making fun of him. Like, oh, what a slob. Like he's not good. Yeah. And I showed it to my wife and I'm like, hey, look, this is how we dress when we go out to eat. You know, like she gets all dolled up and I'm wearing this, you know, a t-shirt, shorts. And like, I'm a lot of times now, I'm just wearing my slippers when I go out to eat. Like, I don't even want to put on shoes. You know, I'm getting so lazy. I'm getting too fat. I can't lean over and tie my shoes anymore. I'm just wearing the slippers, you know. You want to know the most ironic part of this story?
What?
She's dressed like she's going to the Met Gala. He's dressed like he's just going to his backyard. Do you know where they were going?
No idea.
Krispy Kreme donuts. He was dressed appropriately. He was the one dressed appropriately. Yes. So
but I will say that is one of like a weird pet peeve I have. Like if I'm going to a restaurant and then this girl's like wearing this nice dress and everything, and the guy's wearing like cargo pants and a t-shirt. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Well, you just put some effort into it, you know? It's like it's a weird thing. Like I'm forced to wear boring stuff all the time. You're out with this nice lady. Try. What's wrong with you? But guys get really upset with me whenever I say this, so I don't know.
I just don't care. I've been married for 11 years. Do you really
I think it's different when you're married for 11 years, but like these are like obviously like a couple dating or I don't know. It just like I put some effort into it every once in a while.
Did you feel like a spurned girlfriend when we went out to eat and you were dressed in your fancy priest stuff and I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt?
Oh no, because my fancy priest stuff is just like my everyday wear. Actually I hate dress pants so much. I wish I had the courage just to wear jeans and my clerical shirts. I like my clerical shirts. These are very comfy, but I hate wearing dress pants so much.
I don't think I've ever seen you in jeans, and I think my mind, it's the funniest image I've ever had in my life.
On my day off, it's jeans. When I'm like done with stuff, it's jeans. I just hate dress pants.
We've been friends for 7 years, and I've never seen you wear jeans.
Most of the time, you only see me from the waist up. too. It's just like, this is like just like how the camera works as well. But yes, I'm wearing dress pants. But
That is so funny. That is so funny. Okay, let's do one more each. We were playing a game. I forgot.
Yeah.
Let's do one more each. I don't remember where we were, but I'm going to give you one more random word. You give me one more. The random word is Star Wars.
Gnosticism.
Interesting. Why is that?
Well, Gnosticism was the first one that came to my mind. I'm thinking more of a Manichaeism or like a dualism. No, it just Star Wars is like is a conglomeration of different like religious beliefs which are heretical to Catholic faith. The idea that like good and evil are equal opposing forces is something that seeps into people's understanding of like, you see this a lot, especially like it's Jesus versus the devil, and it's like, who's gonna win? It's like, it's obviously Jesus because he's God, and the devil's a creation and is infinitely less powerful than him. Why this isn't as dramatic as you think it is. So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I actually like Star Wars. It's fun, but it's not a great religious thing. It's a heresy, So there you go.
It's interesting that you said Gnosticism first, because like literally
there's
the
a
reason
hidden knowledge aspect. Yeah,
right there is, and they're trying to break that actually.
Mm-hmm.
So literally right now, I have you on my big TV. I'm looking through my camera onto you. And the reason I like, we talked about Brick from Anchorman a couple of weeks ago. Like, I'm just picking things out in my room and naming them. Like right now on my screen, it is me and you, and then 2 Star Wars posters. One of which is Ahsoka fighting Darth Vader, and the other is the Rebels. And that's why I thought, but like literally right now, the Ahsoka series is going on. And as we're recording this, episode 3 just came out and I just watched it. And they're actually trying to fight against this Gnosticism idea. Because the Gnosticism it within Christianity, or I guess it was in Christianity, that is a heresy that got kicked out. But you know what I mean? People that were within Christianity believing it was like, oh, we have a special knowledge, or we are seeking special knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And what Ahsoka is actually trying to do is like, no, the Force is in everyone and is available to everyone. Like, it's not just for the Skywalkers. It's not just for people who have the special knowledge. Actually, Ahsoka is trying to bring somebody else into it of like, just open your eyes to it. You're just closed off to it, which I thought was really interesting. Yes, of course, it's not a one-to-one, but it was more of a like, it's like, for me, it was like, this isn't just for the special people. You can do it too. You're just closed off to it, which is like, essentially like, 100 years ago, it was like the holiness of Catholicism is just for the priests, and the lay people are just not cool enough, or not holy enough, or not smart enough, or whatever, can't read. But like, with there's been a big movement in the last couple decades of like, no, this is for everybody, and everybody can seek it. And it's been mostly a good thing, except for the people who yell at me on the internet for not getting the joke.
Yeah, they're not holy. They don't have the secret knowledge. They don't have the secret knowledge of humor.
Right, exactly. The worst part about, because on Twitter or X or whatever the heck it is now, there's that meme of like joke, and it's just a GIF of the joke constantly going over your head. But I can't respond with GIFs on YouTube Shorts or on Instagram, and it makes me so angry because that's all I want to do. I don't want to actually argue with these people. I just want to say you're an idiot with a GIF, and I can't do it. Okay, you have to give me one more word, and then we'll be done.
Hat.
Bishop with his little Jewish hat that he wears. They're little yarmulkes that they wear, and
those ones, the little skull caps. Yeah.
I like those a lot. My favorite. It is always cool to be at a mass with a bishop, right? And for the most part, where I've gotten this like quote unquote secret knowledge that I've obtained about it, one of my favorite questions to ask people is like, typically, I'm not talking to the bishop, but as like the speaker or MC or whatever, I don't have a direct line to the bishop, but I can get to his MC. You know what I mean? Like the guy that travels with it does. So one of my favorite questions to ask, not because I'm actually intrigued. This is the opposite of me asking you about wrestling stuff. Not because I'm actually intrigued, but just to watch them try to answer the question is, I saw the bishop was taking off his yarmulke and putting on his yarmulke multiple times throughout the mass. Can you explain to me why? And it takes them 30 minutes for them to go, you know what? I don't really know. Like they try to explain it. They go through all the training they've ever had. And the actual answer is, I don't know, man.
It's just what the rules say. Give me a break. I just try not to lose it every time I go to a different parish. That's all they're worried about.
It's just so funny to me. I have done that, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 different times. And just the whole 30 minutes, I'm just smiling and like, oh, nice.
You're coming across as a genuinely interested parishioner, but really you're just a jerk.
100%. 100%. Anytime I look like a genuine parishioner, I'm probably a jerk. Anytime I look like a jerk, I'm probably trying to be a good Catholic. That's just my life in a nutshell. So, all right, we're going to take a break. And whenever we come back, we're going to have a real conversation and not just throw random words at each other. Don't go anywhere. One of our big projects right now is we are going back and remastering all of our older episodes. We've been around for quite some time now, and we've gotten a little bit better at the old editing process. So we are doing this in conjunction because we're trying to get all of our podcasts over onto YouTube, but also right here in your feed. We know we can see it. We see the numbers that a lot of you are going back and listening to the old episodes, which good for you, because I think we're doing a little bit better these days. It's kind of been funny for me to go back and see how much we've improved over the years, especially just by having co-hosts. Me by myself talking to a camera like I'm doing right now isn't the most entertaining. It's more entertaining when I'm talking to Father Anthony. I understand that. But one of the things that we haven't asked for in a while, and one of the things that I've noticed as I've been doing this project, is we haven't gotten a new Apple Podcast review in years. I know that you guys are listening all over the place. You're listening on Spotify, you're listening on YouTube, you're listening on Apple Podcasts, but the majority of you are listening on Apple Podcasts. If you are, whether this is your first time listening, or this is your 100th time listening, or you've come across one of our newly remastered episodes, please go and leave a 5-star rating. It really does help kind of boost us in the rankings so that other people can find the show. We really do appreciate it, and maybe I'll read your review here on the show if you're funny or cool. Only if it's 5 stars. Only if it's 5 stars. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts if you're listening there. We really would appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the show. Welcome back to Forte Catholic. I am Taylor Schrull, and that is Taylor Sciarappa. Sciarappa. That is your new name now. I hated that. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to share some random reflections or revelations that I've had about me and about Jesus. Because there's no two people that I think about more than me and Jesus. No two people that I care about more than me and Jesus. So here was my first thing, because when I was traveling this summer, people always ask, or not always, people often ask like your qualifications. Like, what? So why are you here? Like, what do you do? You know, like what made you think you could talk to these people? You know? And so I tend to lead for a plenitude of reasons. I tend to lead with like, you know, I've been doing this for almost 15 years. Like I've been around, like I've been doing this thing, right? I've had a weekly Catholic podcast for 8 years. I've been speaking, leading worship for almost 15. Because there's two reasons that I don't talk about my schooling. One, speaking of left and right, if somebody is like asking like, hey, what are your qualifications? Because we might want to book you to come speak. I try to avoid that question because where I went to undergrad is like a leftist Catholic college. And where I went to grad school for a year is a very right-wing Catholic college. Yeah. So, because I like to make money, I am like Paul. I have become all things to all people. If you're a leftist group, I'm going to kind of, I'm still going to be me, but I'm not going to be like, you know, we need altar rails or what. I'm not going to bring up that side of me, right? I'm going to kind of suppress that side to become all things to this group of people. But then when somebody comes on the right side, it's like, I'm not going to sing "Come to the Feast of Heaven and Earth," you know, here at the table of plenty. You know what I mean? Like, I figured out how to do this over my almost 15 years of doing this, but I like for people to like me first, or like if you're going to like me, it's because of what I do, right? I'm not saying everybody likes what I do, but if you're going to like me, I want it to be because of what I do, not because of where I went to school. Because a lot of people, if they hear either place that I went to school and they have a preconceived notion, they're already going to hate me. And you know what I'm not like? I'm not like the place where I went to undergrad, and I'm not like the place I went to grad school. I am somewhere in between, you know? Yeah. So why did I bring this up? Oh, I brought this up because it wasn't that I got tired of people challenging my credibility, but I thought of a fun little anecdote. Because I dropped out of grad school, and I was giving a talk near where I went to grad school, and they were like, "Oh, so what'd you get your master's degree in?" I was like, "Well, actually, I'm a grad school dropout. You know, I had to do this thing called get a job to provide for my thing called a wife and child. You know, so I was maybe feeling a little bad that I didn't finish my master's degree, and then I had this great revelation. Okay, Jesus did not have a master's degree.
I don't like what you have said, but I also cannot disagree with it. He did not get it. He
It
did
is
not
not
get a
wrong.
master's degree. No,
He
it's
did
not
not
wrong.
get a master's degree. So you know what I have? I have one more year of master's level training than Jesus did. You know what else I have that Jesus doesn't have?
What?
I didn't finish grad school, but you know what I did do? I double majored in 4 years. I have 2 whole degrees. You know how many Jesus has?
I think he has 0 degrees.
He has 0 degrees. So I am more qualified to speak at your church than Jesus. If you're asking me about my degrees,
if the qualification is degrees from the modern era, then yes, you are in that case more qualified than Jesus.
So, and what I mean is, what ultimately all this means is, well, 1, I'm going to get hate mail for people who don't understand jokes. But 2, it's stop asking where I went to college. It doesn't matter. Like, that's the whole point.
It's shocking that anyone cares about that anymore. Like, why does anyone care about this anymore? It's the most, anyway, yeah.
It's very, like, especially like with me, it's like, you have, back when I first started doing this and the internet was less of a deal.
Yeah.
And like, not just me, but literally nobody. Like, if you wanted to hear somebody talk, you had to bring them out or like go listen to something. Like, bro, there's 550 hours of me recorded on the internet. Go figure out if you like me or not. If you like watch 10 minutes of a talk at double time. Like, so it makes a degree used to be like kind of a safety net for the people. Like, oh, he has degrees or whatever. Like, so that if I'm bad, if the person's bad, you can be like, well, they went to this great Catholic school, or they went like, bro, like, you should know what you're getting. It's like, before I would book anybody to come to an event, I'd go watch them give a talk on YouTube. Like, it's not that hard, you know?
Yeah, it's the same thing. Same thing happens in parishes. Like, to get certain titles in my diocese, you have to have a master's degree. And so we would just give people different titles with the same job because, like, no, this is the person we want and they're good. Just because they don't have a master's degree doesn't mean they're not like the perfect fit. So we'll just give them a different title and hire them for the same exact job that the official title would be. Yeah, it's goofy.
I understand. And the even worse, I saw somebody quote unquote get demoted for that. They were the director of youth ministry, and the diocese decided you can't be a director, you're a coordinator. He got demoted after 15 years of service. Yeah. He got demoted. And it wasn't just a title thing, which is like, to heck with you, right? That's not the word I want to use, but they took away his money.
Oh,
they were like, directors, because you went to masters, directors make $20,000 more. So they took away his money. I'm like, bro, if you thought he was bad, you would have fired him 14 years and 6 months ago. Like, you clearly like the guy.
Wrong. Maybe and also, like, sometimes when I hear where they got their master's degree from, I trust them less depending on the school too. It's like, I'd rather have you have no master's than from that, crazy school. It's very silly. It's a very silly thing.
Next random thought about Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus never went to Latin Mass. He said one Mass, and it was in the vernacular.
See, this one I actually disagree with a little bit. So if you're talking about...
You can't. It's factual. You cannot disagree with it.
Here's the question. Do I turn bread and wine into Jesus, or does Jesus do that?
Yep.
I don't do that. It's Jesus doing it. I literally can't do that. That's why I'm ordained. So that
could
Jesus
it
can do
happen
it
if you weren't there?
I mean, you would need another priest there, but
could it happen if the person of a priest wasn't there?
It's like saying, could Jesus have Mass if he wasn't there? Now I'm confused. You confused my brain. Because
I'm sorry, one follow-up question broke your argument.
Listen, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. The new expansion for Cyberpunk came out. So anyway, but I have to say that Jesus celebrates every Mass. Like, that is a truth, right?
Man, this is interesting because I get what you're saying. We talked about kind of some of this stuff before.
Yeah.
Because my first question is, does Jesus celebrate Mass, or is Jesus celebrated at Mass? And I think the answer is yes again.
Yeah, the answer is yes for that. It is both. Yeah. He is the priest, the altar, and the sacrifice, and it's really confusing, but that's how we have to say it, you know?
I see what you're saying. I get
Yes.
I get your point that yes, he's been present in every mass and he has celebrated whatever.
You could say in a certain way he's spoken Latin very well and very poorly, and he said mass very well and very poorly in a certain sense. I don't know, but certainly in his historical time on Earth before death and resurrection, he only said one mass, and it was certainly in the vernacular. So there. I mean, you have a point. I just want to avoid some angry comments on the YouTube. Technically, Jesus says every mass. And technically, there's only one mass, and it's like, yeah, whatever.
These are my favorite things because I like finding things that are technically true that are clearly tongue-in-cheek, except for the people on the internet that don't realize that it's tongue-in-cheek.
Yes.
You'll like this one. This is the opposite. So if you were mad about the last one, the people who like the Latin Mass will, or who didn't like my comments on that one will probably like my comments here. I'm going to win them back.
Okay.
Jesus never had a light show for all of his talks. Like because modern day there's light shows and big speakers and all this kind of stuff. But
okay.
But he definitely had quite the entrance when he came in walking on water. So
yeah, that's
no light show, but still a little panache.
He's not beyond theatrics here and there, I mean, the casting, the taking down tables and causing a ruckus, like he knows how to make an impression when he wants to.
Right.
The whole I'm
not listening to you until you heal my friend's glaucoma.
Yeah. It's I mean, as far as I was gonna say, he never had like a fog machine, but he had something better. On the Transfiguration, he's glowing, right? It's almost like a light show. A cloud of God's presence comes around him. And you can find that at any Protestant megachurch, an imitation of that. So, there is that. But he never had a PowerPoint or like a slideshow with the lyrics of the songs he was singing. He definitely didn't have that. So it's kind of hard to figure out Jesus' liturgical preferences.
One of my favorite lines, like honestly, it makes me tear up every Holy Week.
Yeah,
is whatever Jesus is. It's right after the breaking of the bread. So the thing we were talking about just a few minutes ago. There's a small little line and it says, and then they sang a hymn, and then it's the next chapter. Then it goes into he's about to die, right? Mm-hmm. It is so cool to me as somebody who's been I know people don't like this term, the worship leader, right? What are we doing? We are worshiping. What am I doing? Leading. I'm a worship leader. Leave me alone. It's just a descriptive term. I don't know what you want me to do. Oh, I don't like you calling yourself a Catholic speaker. Well, what do you do? Yeah, I speak. What are you? I'm Catholic. I'm a Catholic speaker. I don't know what you want. What was I talking about? Oh yeah. So it's just, and then he's singing a hymn. It's just so cool to me thinking of Jesus, the worship leader. Like we hear all these cool stories and we see them happen more, but this was just kind of mentioned. We see Jesus walk on water. We see him give these big talks. We see him, heal people's glaucoma. But what we don't see is him leading a hymn. And I just think it's so cool that Jesus would have sang a psalm or some kind of.
He would have sung a lot. That was part of just Jewish worship and prayer and stuff. So he would have. I imagine he probably had a good voice.
Jesus was a worship leader, so am I. I'm being like Jesus. Okay.
Amen. No notes.
No notes, unless you're sitting in the Presbyterian church, and then all the notes will be in Latin. So
plenty of notes.
There's two more.
Okay.
One, Jesus was a big fan of conferences. He spoke to big crowds. There was insufficient food. It was probably annoying to get there. There's these famous
the food
stories.
Wasn't even good if there was food. It wasn't good. It was barley loaves and fish.
Right. Everyone's hungry. We need to figure this out. It's that's every Catholic conference you've ever been to. Poorly run, poorly planned, not enough food, big crowds, this sort of thing, right? And a lot of people have been pretty anti-big conferences, big events here recently.
It's been a thing now, yeah.
But also, he loved small group ministry because everybody's one of the things that I've been hearing a lot is everybody's so pro small group ministry now that they're trying to be anti-conference. And I'm like, bro, you can't be. Yeah. Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, he spoke to 5,000 dudes, which means there's probably 15,000 people there, just roundabouts, right? That is a conference. Like that is a big group. But then he'd speak to the big groups all the time. Yeah. And then he would speak to the 12, the disciples, literally sitting at the feet of him, right? Like, so he did both. So I'm just tired of people saying that you like only conferences work because everybody my age had their conversion as to a conference, or only small groups work and conferences don't. I'm like, just shut up and read the gospel. I'm getting so annoyed by it. That's where this came from. It was just like, Jesus did both, so we should do both too. Now leave me alone. A lot of this is just me being grumpy and finding creative ways to say it.
That's mostly your podcast, but anyway, it's this thing, and it's when you're a commentator or an online personality, or you just have a Twitter or an X, like, and I fall into this temptation too. Like, the only way to come up with something interesting is to say, oh, this thing everyone likes is actually bad, without like any kind of like nuance and stuff. So yeah, relational ministry is great. There should be more of a focus on it, but like conferences are good too. And like we can and do have both of those things. You don't have to like hate one, and so yeah, that's silly.
Yeah, you know why people came to Jesus? One, because they heard he was a good preacher. That was their way in. And the second gets into the last thing I'm going to share.
Okay.
Why did people come to Jesus? Because they heard they could heal their friend's glaucoma. Like, legitimately, people came from far and wide because they heard that he could do miracles. He was a show. He was a circus. This is why people came. So people have gotten very mad about healing ministry over this last summer. Mm-hmm. Jesus is a fan of healing ministry. That's the last sentence. Jesus is a huge fan of healing ministry. And honestly, it was the primary driver to get people to him. Not saying it's the most important thing he did. I'm just saying it was one of the primary drivers to get people to him. So everybody that's hating on healing ministry can suck it. That's where I'm at. I'm getting so mad here at the end of the
episode. There you go. Yeah. Once again, no notes.
All right. Well, you think we've made enough people mad yet?
I think we did a really good job of making people mad this time. I think, A+. Hitler's wife is definitely going to be in the comments.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to get a 1-star review, and it's probably going to be from somebody I really care about,
Oh, that would be sad. Hopefully it's not
You're the worst. You disagreed with me on the internet. Wah! I like how it was very funny because I thought this was just going to be a very fun segment because I thought I had been creative enough to get away from my anger, and it's still there.
I just stirred it up some more.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's our show. I'm Taylor Schroll. I'll be back next week. That is Father Anthony Scaramucci Raphael Sciarappa, and he will be back in a month. Adios. See ya. Thank you guys for watching and listening today. We hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that subscribe button wherever you are watching or listening. And as we mentioned earlier, if you're looking for something else to listen to and have just started listening here in the last few years, we've got hundreds and hundreds of episodes from way back in the day that you can go listen to right now. Also on our YouTube channel, we've got all kinds of stuff. We've got this show. We've got Allison Sullivan's podcast. We've got talks and our pop culture series. We've got all kinds of stuff going on. YouTube.com/Forte Catholic. Head on over, subscribe, and watch some videos today. We hope that you have a great week. Love you.